Some leaders are terrible at signaling change. When you work with a leader like this, it can feel like everything is a surprise. And others are really, really good at it. In this episode, I'm going to walk through a recent example of some key leadership steps and methods that you can take if you are a leader in an organization or leader of a large team that is anticipating that change is coming, and how you can start to signal that to your teams so that everyone can move through that process of change more effectively. I'm Natalia Loback, and this is the Change Course podcast. I've spent my career leading complex change and transformation in organizations. And over my career, I've discovered what makes complex transformational change stick. Connected change is all about leading successful change within the context of the organization. And here at the Change Course podcast, we're all about making change sustainable. So listen in, drop us a like, a comment, and let us know how we can help you connect and change. A reminder that opinions expressed are entirely my own. In the last episode, I talked about the 5 things that you can look for to predict that change is coming in your organization. And as I mentioned in one of the recent episodes, I've recently joined an organization. So I am back inside the walls of the organization, experiencing change, just like all of you are. And it is different because in my role as the founder and principal of Chart House and all the work that I've been doing with Connected Change, I was the one who was advising leaders on how to start to signal change is coming. Often I would come in right when the change was going to roll out or the change was starting. And so this period before change is coming, when the leadership knows that they're planning some kind of strategic shift and reorganization, whatever it is, leadership is typically aware because they are spearheading and leading that change for the variety of reasons that I talked about in the last episode. There's a period of latency in the organization where the leader knows that change is going to happen because they're leading and planning it. But the organization and the people within the structure are largely unaware. Unless, as I said, you're looking for those signals. But if you're a change leader, there is a powerful opportunity to start to signal that change is coming to the people that you lead. And I have seen both happen recently. So I've seen the example of the surprise that then we have to try and work through. And of course, as I talked about in the emotions of change, the episode I did recently as well, the negative emotional response that comes is to be expected. And if you do not precede or do a drip campaign or start to send out those signals that change is coming, then the surprise leads to a big upswell of emotional response. If you take the opposite approach, where you start to seed the information out in small increments, you start to talk about change and say, I am thinking about change. Change is coming. I don't know what the shape of the change is yet, but it will arrive. If you are a leader that can do that, it is the better way. And the reason is because that change response, that emotional response that happens when the change is finally revealed, when the information is finally revealed, then it is a little bit less acute. So you can reduce the acuity of the initial response to the change. So you can't change it. It's always going to be there because people feel like change is happening to them. It's change they're not in control of. But you can make that transition period post-announcement, we'll call it the announcement or the event, you can actually make that a lot smoother. And people are able to respond and adjust more quickly when you do that. So I'm going to talk through 3 different things that a leader that I'm working with recently did in order to make a change process that much better for the people in the organization. And I'll talk a little bit about what I observed as well. So I started at this organization sometime this summer. I won't get into exact dates, but we knew when I came in, I knew that there was a leadership position vacant and that somebody had been named to that role. They were going to come in externally from the organization, and it was within my leadership structure. And so this person arrived about a week after I started, and it was very interesting because this leader, I would say, did a great job of starting to signal that change was coming. And so about, I would say, a month in, we started to hear that consistent messaging around change is coming. And I want to talk a little bit about 3 things that they did and then how that created a positive net response. So the first thing that has been incredibly effective that I've noticed and would be something and is something that I recommend often to leaders in this position was this forum. So the leader came in and created a new forum within their reporting line. So for the team that they are responsible for, it did not go outside of that. It was just the team that they were responsible for leading. Within that team, they created an informal and very casual and collaborative space for the people in the organization to interact with this leader. And what we started to see was that over time, there was consistency. And so these forums were created. So the first one, of course, was a little bit bumpy. Nobody really knew what was expected of them. But the leader played a key role in shaping the culture of what they wanted that forum to be like, what they wanted that forum to look and feel like. They created trust so that people could ask questions. And as time went on, so this was occurring over a period of about 5 months, 6 months, as this was going on, there was more trust created among the team. And people, you could see how things changed over the time that this forum was happening. The forum was consistent, so it happened on a regular basis that the leader communicated and then followed through on. So very important. It is consistent and it was delivered, and the consistency shows through. Consistency builds trust. Very, very important. And then as time went on and that trust was starting to build, individuals who were participating in those forums were then able to feel like they could ask questions and be very interactive with the leader directly. And so you saw this change over time where the trust was built, the leader was consistent, people changed their behavior. And one of the key things was there was no question that was off bounds. People could ask whatever questions they felt. And as the leader continued to talk about and message that change was coming, of course, the questions that you heard became a lot more vulnerable. You heard those vulnerable questions. Am I going to lose my position? What does this mean for me? Will my team continue on the work that we're doing? Very, very interesting. And this was one of the key factors that created a spirit of collaboration among the group, and also that ability to start thinking about, how do I want to show up in this change for the teams that were affected? So that was number one. And it's a really effective way to do something, but you have to start it early. So if you are a leader who's in that position, anticipating change, getting ready for it, you have to start that early. You have to establish a track record so that as you continue, you will still have that consistency, you'll still have that trust, you'll still have that forum, and it's not something you're introducing new to try and get people to talk to you. People will feel like they don't want to talk because as a leader, you're saying, oh, let's just do this open town hall forum after the change, and you will hear crickets. No one will talk. The trust has not been built. The trust needs to be built before the change. So that is really, really important. It's a pre-change trust build. And you have to be comfortable answering questions that you do not know the answer to or can't reveal. And so there is an art to that. There is an art in the vulnerability to say, I don't know what this answer is. We're still figuring that out. I can't share that right now, but it will be shared with you at X time. So get comfortable with that discomfort. It's really important. The second thing was that there was, and I can't tell if it was intentional or unintentional, but again, the consistency is really important. So consistency of messaging, consistency of information, and intention. And so this leader was not showing variability in their decisions. There was a decision that this leader made to handle something in a specific way, made a decision about a point of data, and that was shared at one of these open forums, but also shared with specific team members who were helping to work on a particular challenge. And what was really interesting is this is an organization that has a very healthy rumor mill. And so lateral connections and that information flow laterally through relationships in the organization is very, very strong. People trust the rumor mill. And this leader seeded the rumor mill with that information. And what was incredible was you can see the consistency. What they said in the open forum was exactly the same as what they said to the individuals who were working on the challenge. And that rumor mill created this consistency of messaging, such that information started to be trusted. And I'll be clear, what happened was this information was seeded to individuals working on a particular challenge before the open forum. But at the open forum, the same information was presented. And so all of a sudden, you had alignment between those lateral pathways that are providing that information, sourcing, the relationships that are occurring laterally. So the leader didn't try to break the rumor mill. They didn't try to destroy those lateral relationships. They seeded it and found a way to make it advantageous to them. The last thing I'll mention, top-down communication. So the forum, the rumor mill, and then the last piece is consistency of messaging through regular top-down communication. So this leader established a cadence of communicating to their organization. If you are a leader, you can pick the medium that works for you. So if you like video, do videos. If you're comfortable in that medium and feel like you want to communicate that way, do that. If you want to write a blog, write a blog. If you want to send emails, do that. If you want to put up an article somewhere in a common space, in a collaborative space, if you want to do a podcast, do that. But the importance is the consistency of the information. The consistency and the regularity and then the repeated nature of the information is very, very important. It's another way for people to feel like they are connected to you, that you are thinking about them, that you are interested in what is happening and you're invested. Importantly, this top-down communication style has to be about the people you're communicating to. It cannot be about you as the leader. It has to be about the people that you are engaging. And so, cumulatively, what did these three things do together? Well, they created an alignment of the messaging. Trust immediately goes up when there is message alignment. Trust of the leader being accessible and telling you what they can, when they can, that also increases trust. So establishing that track record early. So when I experienced this as somebody inside the organization, it was absolutely amazing to see it in action and to be able to observe it. All of these years that I have been talking about this and coaching leaders to do this effectively, and I finally see it in practice. Wow, it was incredible. And importantly, when you're a change leader, you've got to be thinking about this. This all happened before a big change was announced. So it took about 6 months after this leader arrived. And remember, when I talked about the signals, new leaders arriving who are high up in the organization, who have a large span of control, typically signals change is coming. This leader knew that. They came in with a change mandate and did an incredible job in the months leading up to that change, going live, of building trust and consistency and a communication pattern and an engagement pattern with the teams that has incredibly, in my opinion and my observation, put this team, their team that they're leading, slightly ahead of the others who got a surprise message. So I'll leave it there and I'll let you think about that. If you are a leader leading change, what are some things that you can do to start signaling to your people that change is coming so that when change arrives, that it is not a surprise. Maybe the content of the change is a surprise, but the change itself is not a surprise. And people can move through those emotions more effectively so that they're ready to operate and contribute and excel in the new, changed environment. Thank you for listening. If you liked what you heard, I invite you to like, share, rate, and subscribe because it helps others find us. Change Course is brought to you by Charthouse Advisory Services and ConnectedChange.com. Our music is Levity by Emily Clausen. Show notes have moved. We're now at ConnectedChange.com. So visit us there under the Change Course podcast page, and you'll find a list of all the resources that I've mentioned here today. While you're visiting us, sign up for the Change Navigator newsletter. You'll keep on top of all things change, and every month we are sharing exclusive content and resources only with our subscribers. So don't miss out. Sign up at ConnectedChange.com. Thank you for listening, and remember, it's never too late to change course.